I'm Melissa McLearen. I'm the farm manager here at Red Wiggler Community Farm, and this beautiful June morning I'm going to be taking you on a tour of our farm. Red Wiggler is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were founded in 1996 and we're located in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is a suburb of DC. We're standing right now at the Mulberry Grove, which is where we start our day with our morning meeting. And we're going to be doing a test transplant of them today to get everything set up and rolling, and then over the course of the week, every day we'll do more and more until we have filled the field. So that's going to be one of the big things we're doing this week. Here around me you can see our historic barn, which is where we set up our CSA. You can also see our greenhouse and our main program building, which Red Wiggler built. Red Wiggler is a certified organic farm. We grow vegetables, herbs, and flowers for distribution to our community. We start all of our own transplants here in the greenhouse. We are well into the season right now, so what you're seeing is the last little bits. We have some basil, tomatoes, and eggplants still to go. But for the most part, by June, we're in the ground. We're gonna head up to our pick your own area right now. One of the things that I'll be doing as we go through the tour is sharing with you how our programs are integrated and how they accomplish our mission of working, learning, and growing together. We have multiple programs here at Red Wiggler. One of those programs is education. And here in the Pick Your Own, we can have a wide variety of crops in a very small space. We do smaller plantings here, and they're a little bit lower risk for us because it is Pick Your Own and not production that we're going to be distributing. So the Pick Your Own helps us with all of our programs. These are usually smaller quantities of things that our customers pick themselves. So there's less pressure to produce large quantities of vegetables here. This is mostly going to be herbs and flowers and specialty vegetables like peas or beans. We use this space for education because we have such a wide variety of plants. The flowers also help to bring in pollinators and provide a nectar source for them throughout the season. This is also a great training ground because it's low risk. Here in the Pick Your Own is a good place to look at our green aisle system. We try to make our farm somewhat accessible, so all of our spacing is much wider than you would see on an average vegetable farm. We make sure that there's a 3-foot wide aisle, and we cover it with some kind of green living cover. We're going to see that in many places throughout the farm. We had almost an inch of rain last night, and you'll see that I can walk through these aisles and not get a whole lot of mud on my boots, even the very next morning right after a rain. The Pick Your Own is a very therapeutic space because there are so many plants and insects that really stimulate our senses. We often bring sensory tours into this area. The smell of basil, the feel of a frond of fennel, the buzz of insects on all the flowers really helps everyone engage with nature, and we find that that's very therapeutic for all of our programs, whether that's our employment program, our education program, or our volunteer program, and even our distribution program. Our CSA customers tell us that they really, really enjoy the time that they spend in our gardens. Let's walk up to the garlic patch. Garlic is a particularly important crop for us, and it really works well for the grower program. In the grower program, we try to remove barriers to employment for adults with developmental disabilities. We look for ways for them to be involved in all stages of growing vegetables, whether that's preparing the fields, planting the seeds, keeping track of weeds, harvesting, and distributing. The garlic is great for almost everyone. We plant it in the fall during a time when we're very relaxed and we can do a lot of training for our employees. The seeds of garlic are cloves, which are very large. So almost anyone can be engaged in this planting process. It's a very large crop, so It doesn't take a lot of dexterity to harvest it, which allows us to include a lot more people. Even the process of harvesting the bulb of garlic is great because it allows us to teach the pitchfork skill. We also can engage a fair number of people in the cleaning and drying process. It gives us something to do on hot July afternoons. We can all sit together in the shade, share conversations, and clean the garlic to get it ready for our customers. Let's head up to the shade of the sycamore tree and we'll talk about the grower program. The grower program at Red Wiggler employs about 15 in any year adults with developmental or intellectual disabilities. We pay our employees minimum wage or better, and they work a regular schedule each week. Each of our growers has individual goals which are adapted to their personalities and needs. We also track standard skills. So we have 52 standard farm skills, everything from weeding to using a harvest knife to using a push mower. An example of these 52 skills might include the steps of transplanting. We break transplanting down into individual steps, and someone might train on layout or using a hand trowel to plant or using a watering can to water the transplants. We track all of these skills in an enormous spreadsheet at 4 different levels. The first level is introduced, where someone is just doing the job for the first time and getting to know what is involved. As a person becomes more familiar with the job, we move them to the expected level, where it's expected as part of their individual job description. When someone is ready to start working without assistance, we move them to independent level. That means that they don't need oversight while they're doing the task. And the very last level, which we think is the most important, is leadership. We try really hard to make sure that each of our employees is able to teach the skill that they've learned to someone else or lead a small team of people doing that job. This is really important for our employees because it helps give them ownership of the farm. They really develop an identity as farmers. I'd like to introduce you to Sam. Sam is one of our team leaders. Sam is down on the wash station.
Hi, my name is Sam Sheehan and I am the wash station assistant. Here at the wash station, we clean and cool the vegetables. We weigh the vegetables and pack them into bins. The bins go down to the barn. David will tell you about packing the refrigerators.
Hi, my name is David Rook and I've been at Red Wiggler for 14 years and I'm about to put the baby Q in the fridge. Today we're setting up for CSA and the customers get 3 options. And here's the list of options. Here's the items that are available. So they can pick different herbs and spices and flowers and all that they could take home. And I'll let you get back to your tour with Melissa.
This is a great place to talk about Red Wiggler's impact on the environment. Part of our mission is to be a sustainable farm, and so we think about the ways that our work impacts the water and the soil and the insects and birds. Behind me, you'll see an area that we used to have an erosion problem on. We used compost, logs, and stems from our vegetable plants to build a mound across the top of this field. And then we plant it with either cover crops or beneficial flowers, depending on the season. This mound has completely captured all the water running off the hillside for the last 2 years, and we've eliminated an erosion problem below us in that field. Farming on hillsides is challenging, but it can be done in a way that doesn't harm the environment. Let's head over to the maple tree, and we'll see if anyone wants to say hi. Here you can see a few teams working this morning on a roots harvest. We try to divide the tasks up so that everyone has a job that's appropriate for them and is really tailored to their abilities. We work together so that there's an atmosphere of community and volunteers get the opportunity to interact with our employees. We're not perfect and we don't try to be. We've got weedy aisles and some overgrown areas, and that's just part of farming. That's how it rolls. This team is pulling the plants out that are ready. So I believe they're working on turnips and radishes. Then we move over into the shade to top and clean. Our onion crew has already harvested the onions and brought them over into the shade. And they are now doing the step of peeling off the dirty outside layer to make sure that the inside is good and doesn't have any insect damage. Part of being organic is accepting that some of our crops do get a little bit of insect damage, and we always screen really carefully to make sure that what we're giving to our customers is high quality. This is also an area where we can break a job down and do some training. Brandon right now is working on learning the skills of bunching, and what we've done is we've broken the skill down into the different steps. So cleaning, weighing, assembling the bunch, and rubber banding the bunch. And he's been learning all of these skills separately. At the end, we'll put all the skills together so that he's independent on the task of bunching onions. We're passing by the pollinator garden, which is one of our education spaces, and I'll let Darlene tell you a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Melissa. My name's Darlene. I'm the education coordinator here at Red Wiggler Community Farm. And we're in our pollinator garden. This is part of our education program expansion. So we moved our discovery garden down to our lower fields, and this is going to be an area that's a break space for our growers. And we filled it with lots of perennial plants so we can teach about our native bees and butterflies here in Maryland. So our education program has a few different parts. Every day at Red Wiggler is a part of the education program because there's so much to learn. We have volunteers and interns and new visitors on the farm every week. And our growers are the teachers. Some growers have been here 10 plus years. That's 10 or more years of farming experience, so they are the experts. So they'll be teaching volunteers and new coming interns and visitors about everything we grow, about how to harvest, how to process vegetables down at the wash station, how to weed. They really are our go-to instructors, and they do that in lots of different ways. So some growers like to demonstrate, some growers like to work one-on-one, and some like being in front of a group where they can really teach and share their knowledge. Thanks for taking a minute to learn more about our education program. I'll let you get back to your tour with Melissa.
Our volunteer groups have been doing a really good job of keeping up with the potato bugs, so I'm not sure what we're going to find here. This is a place where a large number of people can help us. Maybe it's a corporate group, or maybe it's just a lot of students can come out. And you can see the damage. We just did a picking, so there's not very many of them. But you can see the damage caused by Colorado potato beetles. We send groups of people sweeping through the fields looking for the eggs and adults and the instars of larvae. And it's one way that we can keep up with the bug population. Potatoes are very challenging to grow because of Colorado potato beetles. This is a great place for Becca to share with us how we bring in corporate groups and school groups to help control potato bugs.
Thanks, Melissa. My name is Becca. I'm the volunteer and grower coordinator here at Red Wiggler Community Farm. I'm in charge of managing all the volunteers that come to our farm. We have several hundred per season, and they are such an important part of what makes our farm successful and what helps us grow. It's also a really important part of making our community one that is inclusive. We have volunteers from local high schools. We have volunteers who themselves have developmental disabilities. We have volunteers who are retired, who have never farmed in their lives, who farmed for 45 years. And I try to bring as many different kinds of people representing as many different walks of life as possible with a wide variety of abilities. And so we have individual volunteers, so our internship program, and our super volunteers who sometimes dedicate as much as 300, 400 hours per season to our farm. We bring on corporate groups and school groups all the time. You're looking at the potato fields behind me, and we would not be able to keep our potato fields free of the Colorado potato beetle without the help of volunteers. A really important part of our volunteer program is this idea of inclusion. We want to bring together as many different kinds of people to make our community one that is healthy, one that is diverse, with many different people representing different backgrounds and different abilities. So that's a little bit about our volunteer program, and I'll let you get back to your tour.
Let's head up to Field K, our onion patch. As we head to Field K, we are passing the brassica field. You can see that we're using row covers to control insects here as well. And if you look closely, you might see a cabbage looper butterfly floating around the field as we harvest it. When we leave the field, we'll make sure these covers are nice and tight so that the butterflies don't get ahead of us and lay a lot of eggs, thereby giving us a lot of cabbage moths. Oh look, Maddie is putting the row cover back into place. This will keep the butterflies out of the field. And Maddie's having a hard time because these covers are really heavy when they're wet. The brassicas family includes kale, collards, kohlrabi, mustards, turnips, and radishes. They're all very closely related, so we keep them together in the crop rotation. And then they won't return to this field for another 4 years, so that if there was disease on any of them, we have an opportunity for that disease to die out. At this point in the tour, I'd like to check in with Ashley to tell you more about Red Wiggler's sustainability efforts.
Hi, I'm Ashley Jordan. I'm the Field and Production Manager at Red Wiggler Community Farm. I'm here to show you a few of our sustainability efforts. First, we always try to conserve water at Red Wiggler. So this is why we've decided to use a drip irrigation system. A typical sprinkler system releases a lot of water into the air, so a majority of that water is evaporating and you're actually wasting a lot instead of watering your crops. This also delivers the water right to the roots of the crops as opposed to a large area of soil, and this actually cuts down on weeds because you're just watering what you're planting as opposed to the whole field. Another irrigation system we use is micro sprinklers, or wobblers as we like to call them, and we use those for germination of beets and carrots because it disperses a nice even layer of water across the surface of the soil, just enough to keep the seeds wet so they germinate, and then we'll put in drip tape after that. Okay, let me show you another sustainability effort that we try to implement on the farm. These are some summer cover crops. We have buckwheat and some phacelia growing underneath it. And we have some leftover oats from the winter that is holding the soil in that section of the field. We try to prioritize soil health on Red Wiggler Community Farm, and we do that primarily by participating in the Million Acre Challenge's field benchmark study. And basically what that does is it compares our soil health practices to other farms in the Maryland and Pennsylvania area and the microbial life in our soil. And we use the results of soil tests to tell us how many nutrients we should put down in our soil, when we should add compost, and what cover crops we should seed. Thank you for taking a minute to learn about drip irrigation and cover crops and soil health. Now I'll let you get back to your tour with Melissa.
All right, so I'd like to take you over to one of my favorite little spots on the farm. It can't all be perfect and beautiful, and really it shouldn't be. This wild little area is a fennel patch that I'm very fond of. We've been growing fennel in this spot for almost 5 years, and we just let it come back every year. We weed it a little bit, but for the most part we just ignore it. And this wonderful wild spot on the farm gives us flowers that attract beneficial insects. This morning you can see we've got some ladybugs hanging out in here. And so no matter what happens in our fields, if we mow the field or clear it, there's always a home somewhere on the farm for our beneficial insects. Even snakes love to hang out in the bottom of this patch, which is great because you need snakes to control rodents in your fields. Let's head down to the compost patch and get out of Ashley's way. It looks like the team is heading down for break. Our daily routine is to start the morning with a morning meeting so that everyone's aware of the tasks that are going on for the day. We work for 1 block in the morning, and we all take a break together, and it's a good time for conversation and a snack and getting to know each other. We break again at lunchtime, and then a second shift of employees comes in for the afternoon work. This is a good place on the farm to talk about waste management. Farming generates a lot of weeds, second vegetables, toppings, like when we top turnips, we have the greens left over. And we have to do something with all of that organic matter. And we want to do something responsible with it. We have a line here where we try very hard to make compost. We mix dry materials with green materials, turn them, and it slowly turns into a nice organic compost. I have to say, this is not Red Wiggler's strongest place. We can't be perfect at everything, can't be perfect at anything. You can't be an expert at everything. And this is something that Red Wiggler really is doing well in terms of a waste management perspective, but we're not making the world's best compost. And that's okay, because our main goal here is to keep all of that organic matter on the farm and not going into a landfill somewhere. We're going to head over and check out our bluebirds. Red Wiggler is located on the grounds of a park. So we rent from the park system, and it gives us an opportunity to engage in a public-private partnership. We get a lot of benefits out of partnering with the parks. The parks runs a bluebird program, which Red Wiggler hosts here on our farm. Tree swallows and bluebirds like to live without another one of their own kind near them. So we always have pairs of houses, and one house will be occupied by tree swallows, like the one you can see on the post, and then the other house will be occupied by bluebirds, which is what the program is meant to help sustain. This is a great place to talk about why organic matters. We are certified organic. We choose to do better than the regulations require us to, because we think that the strict rules don't necessarily get to the nuance of all the rest of sustaining the environment. But we do think that organic matters, and we hope that more farms will engage in organic agriculture. The main premise is to limit exposure to toxic chemicals and to farm with practices that are sustainable to the environment. In the background, you can see the solar house. The solar house was built by University of Maryland students for the solar decathlon down on the mall in DC. It came to live here at Red Wiggler and now serves as the residence for our executive director. He gets the fun job of watching the farm on the weekends when the rest of us go home. We're coming back around to the deer fence, so let's take a minute to talk about deer pressure. We are in the suburbs of DC. We're on the edge of the urban ag interface, and so we have a huge deer population. We have this deer fence surrounding our entire growing area. The deer fence keeps the white-tailed deer out if we keep the gate closed. White-tailed deer can really destroy your crops. They love vegetables, particularly lettuce. The deer fence is also a challenge for us because we need to manage the weeds on it. This creates a job for some people, which is a good thing, but it is a really big challenge.
Hey, good to see you guys again. So we're back in the Pick Your Own, and I get to share a little bit about the CSA. So I'm also the CSA coordinator here at Red Wiggler, and the Pick Your Own is a really important part of our three-part CSA. So our gourmet CSA, we have customers come pick up on Wednesdays and Saturdays. They come to the barn to pick up their produce, and then they get to spend time in our beautiful Pick Your Own. The other two parts are our farm to group home and our farm to food bank program. So 50% of everything we produce, we distribute retail to our customers who come pick up on the farm. The other 50% we're sending to local group homes and food banks here in Montgomery County. We think that farming is a therapeutic experience, and we get that working here, but we also want to share that with our customers. So people can spend time picking herbs and flowers, like we have our lemon balm and rosemary here. They can read the signs to learn a little bit more about what's growing, and most importantly, they get to have an experience of feeling where their food comes from and picking something super fresh for their families. This is also an opportunity for our growers to interact with customers and to teach customers how to pick flowers, how to pick herbs, and how to use them.
We're coming to the end of our tour, and I just want to make sure that we've clearly identified all of our programs. The programs are very interconnected, so sometimes it's hard to know what they all are. We have our grower program, which is employment for adults with developmental disabilities, volunteers, where we engage our community, education, which reaches out to both younger children and adults, distribution, where we feed our community with healthy vegetables, and then the Care Farming Network, which is part of a movement to spread care farming across the country. Thank you for coming along on our tour. We're really grateful to have had this opportunity to share Red Wiggler with you.
Thanks for watching our first ever virtual farm tour. Don't we have a great group of growers, staff, and volunteers? We'd love to see you on the farm. Come visit. If you can't, check us out on the web or social media. And then there's one more thing.
Thanks for watching!